So we know, welcome to you all. Thank you. So we know that there have been numerous dementia-friendly initiatives, starting a while ago in Japan, and they've sort of been catching on fire around the world. And now the Netherlands has done a huge amount in just the last 3 or 4 years, right, Jacqueline? And you have this program called, with a rather lovely name, Dementia-Friendly Together. Tell us about it, please.
Yes, thank you. Dementia-Friendly Together, it's just the idea of together, not saying dementia-friendly project or community. No, it's something we do together. And this national program on creating dementia-friendliness is part of our national program for dementia, the Delta Fund for Dementia. It started in May 2016, so only 3 years ago. And it's a cooperation between our National Alzheimer Association, a pension fund for people working in care, and the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sport. So it's public-private enterprise, and it has a public funding of about 10 million euros, and the other participants contribute in kind to this. We have a website for the program, which is the central part, where people can go to have information, also for people with a migrant background. It's cultural diversity taken care of as well. It gives examples of dementia-friendly initiatives, experiences and online training. And there's a basic online training for the general public. And by now we've developed 10 training for professionals. So for instance, people working at city halls, people working at banks, but also hairdressers, people at dental practices, the catering industry, home care, call centers, taxi drivers, bus drivers, and the same.
And what's been the uptake of the online training? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's to become a dementia friend, you must take a training, either an online training or an on-site training. And as I said, we started 3 years ago, and by now we have about 200,000 dementia friends, which means that on average, for the past 3 years, every day we gained 183 dementia friends.
So step back, what is a dementia friend?
A dementia friend is someone who has taken at least one training on dementia and dementia-friendly behavior, and who's declared that he will commit him or herself to also spread the word and also act in a dementia-friendly way.
Okay, so it's growing.
It's growing, and people are also taking initiatives themselves. Because at start people from the project approached businesses or business sectors asking, would you be interested to participate in the training? And now they're coming to the program themselves. For instance, a chain of DIY stores saying, can we get a training because it's important for us to do it? But also clubs, sports clubs, other clubs saying, we want a training for our volunteers to be able to have people participating with dementia. And for instance, neighborhoods. So next step is a training for a dementia-friendly neighborhood. So you don't take the training as an individual, but as a group of people who live in the same neighborhoods to assist people with dementia and their informal carers and be dementia-friendly all around.
So I'm sorry if this is a really basic question, but what does the training comprise? What would I learn if I became a dementia friend and I signed up to the online training? What would I get out of it?
First you learn the basic symptoms of dementia. Of course you won't be able to make a diagnosis, but to recognize certain symptoms on how to see this could be someone with dementia. And most important part is to learn how to deal with someone with dementia. This sounds not really nice, but if you see, for instance, what we use in commercials on TV and social media, you see a person with dementia or someone totally confused in the supermarkets or in the busy streets, and then learning how to approach someone. So in a relaxed way, make eye contact, think with someone, put them at ease, and just help them get the next step, so to continue in their life. And it's in the Netherlands called GOOD. Luckily in English it sounds the same, but it's an acronym for those things. So think, make contact, and
Okay,
think
so
is the
practical,
last part.
practical guidance.
Yes, really
to help
practical
people
guidance.
when they're in that situation, not to go, I don't know what to do, but
and
giving
help
them tools.
you over your shyness of, oh, could I do that? No, just say, if you're really relaxed and kind, asking, can I help you? Then
Okay,
someone
well,
won't be offended.
thank you very much for getting us going on talking about dementia-friendly initiatives, Jacqueline. Now, HSBC UK has, over a very similar kind of period, the last 3 years or so, done a similar thing, looked at the way in which the organisation runs and made it dementia-friendly. Tell us all about it, Ian.
Yeah, sure. Very good afternoon, everyone. It's quite humbling to be here because I don't think I've played a huge part, but it's interesting hearing all the stories. But about 3 years ago, Jeremy Hughes is here today, started to talk to HSBC about dementia, and we put it to our people. We employ about 33,000 people in the UK, the bit of the bank that I've got, and we've now got 16,000 people as dementia friends. And really the essence is, are you aware of what dementia could mean for customers?
Sorry to do this again. Give me those numbers again. 30.
So 32,000, well 50% of our people who are signed up as dementia friends. It's quite a shock.
That's awesome, isn't it? 50% of the staff?
And some have been through quite basic training and some have been through slightly more intense training. But what we really tried to do was to have a care environment around the brand. So quite lucky, 4 letters, quite easy to remember, but 625 branches around the UK. Anyone who's having a bad day can walk in there and they know they'll be looked after. And that's the essence of what we're trying to do. And things like, people will walk into a bank branch and they don't recall why they've come in. They can't remember. And if people are trained and aware, we will sit down, we'll just take an extra few minutes with them, we'll go through their account with them, and just really be very patient. So that was point one. But then what started to happen quite quickly is our people started to feed back to us that our products weren't good enough, too complicated. And what tends to happen is that when family members were noticing differences in their parents or aunts or uncles, they wanted power of attorney. So you go from having full control to no control. And that was terrible for our customers because they wanted control. And so what we had to do was come up with something which wasn't power of attorney, but gave family members access to bank accounts. Now that's actually really difficult because you get into series of fraud, data protection, etc. But we managed to work through that now. So if you've got a family member who is vulnerable, and I mean the wider vulnerable piece, then we can give you permission to go in and look at that account. And that's actually really important because most people...
But without going all the way to establishing a power of attorney.
Correct. And
sort
that's
of halfway house.
So the individual still got access to all the bank facilities, can go to the cash machine, can go and use their cards, but a family member can come into that account and have a look. It might be read-only, and it's interesting because we're all creatures of habit. And if you go to the same supermarket every day, well, we'll track that. But suddenly if you go somewhere different and the amount goes up, then we can track that as well. And that will highlight that maybe somebody else is interfering on the account or somebody's behaviours have got a little bit erratic. So things like that have been hugely important.
Can I ask you about when people don't go into branches? Because the branch network at HSBC, and I'm sure most banks, has been pruned quite substantially over in the last decade or so, for all sorts of reasons. So most people have to access their bank via the phone, right? And I certainly know some older people are not very comfortable with that, right? Dementia or no dementia. So how are you helping them?
So we train in exactly the same way. Actually, when you go to one of our call centres, they're big. There's thousands of people in these call centres. I am in awe of the people. I couldn't do the job. I'm very honest when I say it. I couldn't do it because the level of patience is way beyond mine. And you'll get people who'll phone every day. Customers will phone every single day to have a conversation with someone. It's a friend at the end of the phone. And you'll hear things, if you're listening into the calls, then honestly, it's not humour, but you've just got to visualise this. You hear people going, so can I help you? Yes, you can. What can I help you with? I can't remember. Okay, so and there's a pause, and then somebody says, oh, you need your bank details. Where can I find my bank? They'll be on your card. My card's upstairs. And you'll hear the phone going down, and all you hear is dum, 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 upstairs, then dum, 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 downstairs. I can't find it. I think it's in the kitchen. And then, now, honestly, my patience, it wouldn't cope it. You need special people answering the phone. You need people who are aware, and we don't set times. A lot of call centres, you've got to come off a call saying 5 minutes or 6 minutes. We don't do any of that.
But hang on a second. That's the reputation of call centres, right?
Yes.
It's a machine. You have to set the targets, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So have you had to change that as a result of this dementia-friendly initiative?
Absolutely that. Because it's just so unfair on our people to say, look, you've got to get off that call within 5 or 6 minutes. If you can't get to the crunch, bring in a team leader to help. That doesn't work in this environment. So to give people the ability and comfort that they can do their job really well by saying, it takes 15 minutes, it takes 15 minutes. And we've got one brand in particular called First Direct. If you average call time there can go on and on, but the customer service is number one. It does work.
They like it. So I'm now going to ask Lenny a difficult question. We've had two really great stories. What's going on in the Netherlands, what HSBC UK is doing, and there are lots of initiatives that different organisations are doing, countries are doing, individuals are doing, communities, blah, blah, blah. How do we know that they are really making a difference? How do we know that this is the right stuff?
Well, we know there's a problem, and we know there's a problem because people with dementia have told us, and the Swedish minister said something at the start which was around their approach, which was people with dementia should be able to continue to maintain their independence and live in society as they choose. And that is not happening in any country in the world. So there is a problem, and lots of these initiatives that you see around the world have been responding to that and trying to identify ways to include people and to ensure that they are able to maintain their independence. Because I no more want anyone restricting my independence and my ability to choose how I participate in society than I would if I had dementia. Now the challenge, and we've heard it throughout today I think, is that the evidence of impact and the evidence that lots of these initiatives have is limited. And one of the reasons why the World Dementia Council is doing this project this year around looking at what the global evidence is because there are so many different initiatives that are being led from the grassroots to government, but we need to be able to demonstrate that it either improves people's lives or has a wider impact on society. Because if we are not achieving the change, we need to moderate what we're doing.
So are you evaluating, Jacqueline, what you're doing?
Yes, we do evaluate, so we see the results. We do research in the community, saying, does it work? But we also look into what we would do as a next step. So for sort of dementia-friendly 2.0. And well...
so you've moved the programme on already, have you?
Now, we're thinking about it. It's not yet done, but we're discussing it because we think that real dementia-friendliness is not just assisting people with dementia to cope with the limitations, but also to facilitate them to use their abilities as well and to remain a worthy member of society. So we're looking into possibilities of especially people with young onset dementia to continue their paid job. What do they need as employees to continue their job? What do employers need to have them as employees? And what do co-workers need for this? So we're starting research on that, and we also want to promote further the volunteer work done with people with dementia, as we do in our dementia-friendly project, so people with dementia, they still can do a lot of things. So we just ask them, instead of going to daycare, what would you like to do? What are you good at? Do you like gardening? Well, we can see whether we can find you a job as a volunteer working in a public garden or in the woods, where we have several projects, or at school assisting children, reading to them. And you can, well, I can give loads of examples, because in fact everything is possible if someone wants to do it, and we can find suitable, or the project can find a suitable place for them to do their activities. But also dementia-friendly living. We have a lot of attention in the Netherlands to the indoors for people to live in their own homes. But what about the outdoors? The built environment, how can we make that more dementia-friendly in the neighborhood? Understandable signposts, easy to follow walking routes, and even pavement. Perhaps place some more benches so you can take a rest for a while, and things like that. Starting research on that as well, so I can't exactly tell what we're going to do, but it's going that direction.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting, because it's not just about training the people in wider society, but actually enabling people with dementia to live fuller lives,
Yes.
which is ultimately what it's all about, isn't it? So Ian, I was intrigued to discover that your dementia-friendly work and initiatives has led HSBC UK to move into other areas, to embrace other vulnerable people. Tell us about that.
Well, it goes back to the sort of whole care agenda and our people. So bear in mind, our people volunteer for this. Nobody's strong-armed to take part. And as they feed back to us all the time, which they do, I think Lenny's point is a really important one. Do not take away people's independence. That is a real sore point for a lot of people. But what people probably won't realise in the room is in the UK, 6 million people have got no access to banking. 6 million people. A huge amount of people who are not in the banking system. And
So that's about 10% of the
10%
population.
of, yeah, who are, and it's quite painful being outside because you cannot get access to the right products, etc. But what we've learned, and it is a direct result of the dementia work we've done, is that there are a lot of people who just need a simple bank account. So if you're homeless, okay, a part of society that's far too easy to walk past, homeless people don't have a bank account because you need two things for a bank account: proof of identification and an address, okay? And if you don't have an address, you fail at the first hurdle. We've managed to get past that now by working with other charitable organisations, Princess Trust, Shelter, Crisis, so that if somebody will stand for the person, so literally I can walk into a bank with somebody, and again we're well trained on this now, we will get you a bank account opened. It'll be a basic bank account, but it gets you into the system. Now we've had all sorts of pushback that we're going to open up fraud, you'll be using illicit funds, we've had all that pushback, but we've managed to find a way through. We would not have managed to find a way through if it hadn't been for our people on the ground pushing us, saying we need this product. So
do you think this product aimed at homeless people would have happened anyway, or did it happen as a result, as a kind of spin-off, as you like, from the dementia-friendly work you were doing?
I think it's 2 or 3 years earlier than it would have been. I think it would be too easy to walk past it. I think we would have gone, yeah, we'll get to that one soon. But we've actually got to it quicker because our people do care and they're seeing what a difference they can make. And the whole thing around volunteering and getting the energy of the firm onto these causes. I mean, we've raised £3 million for dementia. I have not put a penny of the company's money into it. It's people raising money on the ground that's raised that sort
in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
That is very impressive. That's very impressive. So Lenny, give us your take on what we've just heard from Ian, where these dementia-friendly initiatives have ended up taking on a life of their own, as it were, and changing the culture of the organisation and going in directions you couldn't have predicted.
So I think there's something fundamental that's being described here, which is about inclusion. Because
inclusion.
Because what this is about is if you're opening a bank, if you're opening a shop, if you're opening a restaurant, if you're providing a service in society, you should include people, irrespective of their gender, their sexual orientation, their ethnicity, or their age, or whether they have a specific disease. Now, inclusion is not a passive act. It is an active act by an organisation to think about how organisation needs to change to include people. So there will never be a disability, the equivalent of a disability ramp, to include people with dementia to be part of the banking system, but the systems need to change to include people. And I think there's almost like there is no argument and there is no discussion around the merits, the importance and the impact that inclusion could have. Inclusion is a good thing. We don't need to evidence it. It is inherently good.
So, do you have a vision then of how we can move these many dementia-friendly initiatives that we have all around the world at different communities and different levels, Lenny, to create a more generally inclusive dementia-friendly society? Or is that just some kind of pie in the sky, pipe dream?
Well, there's I'm a gay man of a certain age, and, when I was growing up, there were gay-friendly hotels, there were gay-friendly pubs, there were gay-friendly restaurants, and that was because it was a time, when I first moved to London, I got kicked off the bus by the bus driver, and I wouldn't say what he said, but he was not welcoming of the fact that there would be a gay man on his bus. Now, if you look back to somebody moving to London today, 20 years later, they would turn around and think the idea of a gay-friendly hotel or a gay-friendly restaurant is completely ridiculous, because lesbian and gay people and LGBTQI people are included and are able to be part of society. So when you said earlier, well, success looks like a dementia-friendly society, success is when someone with dementia looks round and looks back at the concept of dementia-friendly society and says, that is so old-fashioned, because I am included and I am part of society.
That is a great line. It looks like they agree with you, Lenny. Let's have some questions for Lenny, Ian and Jacqueline, who, and this side of the room has got to come up now. Come to the plate, please. Who's going to put a question to them? Don't look down at your phones, please. Yes? You floored them. Okay, then I'm going to go to my saviours at the other side of the room, who I know will have loads of questions for me. Jeremy.
Jeremy Hughes from Alzheimer's Society in the UK. Thank you, all three of you, for a really great presentation. I just wanted to reflect, because I think that issue of inclusion is absolutely what it's about. And one of the things that I've been impressed by is that there's real leadership from Ian in HSBC, but the important thing is he's not alone. And what we've seen is that other banks, building societies, insurance companies, with the leadership of HSBC, have come on board. And I think what makes me feel encouraged and hopeful is if we look at other sectors, we've seen a similar programme. So across, for example, the gas, electricity and water companies in the UK, we've got British Gas, which is the biggest gas company, to lead a programme to make them all more dementia responsive, to be more supportive. But the other point I wanted to make was that it's not just about the wider community. I think an important aspect is that for any business or for public sector, there are many people in the workforce who have carer responsibilities or increasingly may be identified as having early onset Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. And I suppose I'm saying that that inclusion is about the inclusivity of people affected by dementia within the workforce of governments, of local authorities and of companies, as well as the wider society.
Thank you. So, Ian, Stuart, were you part of a process of spreading best practice through the industry, or did it sort of just happen?
There's a common theme running here. So Iceland's First Lady, I thought, started it, Lenny's touched on it, and it goes back to speaking up. We just encourage people to speak up so we can deal with it. I will not have people coming to me asking for time off to go and care for a relative. If they don't know that they can go and do that themselves, we've failed them. So it's really having an open dialogue. I don't want to get sidetracked, but last week we did a well-being week in the firm. Because as you said, this year we did a well-being month. We're right in the middle of it this month in May. And a subject I'm really poor on today is Menopause Day in the UK and HSBC. We've got thousands turning up for VCs on a subject I know nothing about. But you've got to be open about it. And dementia is just exactly the same. Talk about it.
Thank you, Ian. Professor Carl.
Thank you indeed for another really riveting session. And it's just really a comment about the language we use in dementia care. We tend to other people, distance people with dementia from us. But in fact, we're all part of a growing dementia community. And I guess we have to be so careful about not using words like sufferer and, you know, for the caregiver, the hidden victim, and even the prevalence rates is the tsunami and what the media really love. So it's really just a comment about, you know, in terms of dementia-friendly communities, the language of dementia care. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just get another comment from the audience before sending it back to our speakers.
Thank you. I hesitate saying this, Lenny, but it is really addressing what you have just said. Unfortunately, worldwide, we still have so much homophobia, so much racism, so much gender issues, so much anti-woman. And if we are not always very careful, training ourselves, and also outside London, outside Sweden, be aware. I'm saying this as a Brazilian. We are seeing today in my country more racism, more homophobia than I could ever imagine 10 years ago. So let us not be complacent and think that these problems are over, because they may also affect dementia if we are not very careful and vigilant.
Thank you, Alex Kalache. So can I ask all three of you to give us a final thought on how you think we might be able to move out from initiatives into something broader and more long-lasting?
Well, I'll just pick up both points, because it's around, what is the challenge today? It's not to persuade the people in this room, it's to persuade the people outside this room of the scale of the problem. And that's one of the challenges around language, because we're all used to talking the same language. A lot of us actually know each other, but as Harry Johns was saying earlier, the massive increases you have seen in US funding for research have come about because of an increasing awareness among voters about the salience of this issue. And, I completely take your point. You wouldn't find, any of my friends who've not still experienced homophobia in London. It never stops. And that's one of the reasons why there are things like Pride, and why there are organisations like HSBC that celebrate diversity. And it is important when you come to something like dementia, when, to go back to your point around language, we do not put people in a box and say, this job is done. Inclusion is a continual, active process where we ask ourselves, we ask our organisations, we ask our governments, and we ask each other, are we genuinely being inclusive, and are we celebrating diversity? So even come a day where the idea of dementia-friendly communities looks completely outdated and completely ridiculous, but people who are living with dementia and who are affected by dementia should still have a prominent role in society, and they should still be able to feel part of society. Because despite the fact that I live in London, when there is Pride in London, as a minority in my own city, I feel a sense of belonging. And if we achieve anything, it is that someone with dementia who is today stepping out of a doctor's surgery and feels like they are stepping back into a society that they no longer belong in, one day can leave a doctor's surgery and say, I belong in society and I know I am able to participate. And that's what success looks like. So the job never stops.
You'd never believe that he used to be in politics. A great speaker.
Don't give away my secrets.
So, you've got to follow that now, guys.
I think we need you back in politics. So, my take on dementia is, I'm not an expert on it, but I think for people in this room, I think they're very right. It's not the problem in the room, it's the problem outside. But you do have an unfair advantage. Okay? And this is what I tell people on dementia. If it hasn't hit your family today, it will hit at some point. It's indiscriminate. Your background is no guarantee. Dementia will hit you at some point. It might be a distant relation, it might be a very close relation, it might be you. But at some point, dementia is going to catch up with you. So you may as well get your arms around it now, you may as well try and help, you may as well get on the front foot, and you may as well learn about it. And if I can get 50% of my team signed up and active and interested in this for that reason, and they're all now getting it, that it is going to hit them at some point, I am sure there's a much wider audience out there. But that's the message I give to my people. At some point, it's going to be on your doorstep.
Thank you, Ian. So,
see
gather
more
up
for
our
me now.
forces. Give us
What
the
can we
promised
do?
land,
The
please.
promised land. Well, I was thinking about children.
Ah,
Well, a few years ago I was in Malta on the island of Gozo, and they have a dementia-friendly village there. All inhabitants go to a training on how to deal with dementia, and they include children from the age of 8, 9 years old. They're requested to take the course. They do it at school, saying, okay, this is what happens when someone has dementia, and this is how we include people with dementia in our society. And in the Netherlands we also have initiatives where children of the same age get a training in school saying, okay, this is dementia. And it struck me when I talked to the children on Malta and also to the school children in the Netherlands that they have so little prejudice. It's in, oh, you have a problem. Well, or you need help with something. Okay, then I can help you. And I think that blue sky somewhere, we need a society where everybody thinks, okay, you need some help, whether you have dementia or something else, or you're, well, I won't say different, but
I'm definitely different from
you're quite special, but it's not what I'm used to, but I accept it. And that's what we should see, and that way people with dementia won't have some sort of special position. No, they're just people who are included in our society and are worthwhile and respected.
Jacqueline, that's a lovely vision, and more importantly, it's a realisable vision. Thank you very much for drawing this discussion to